We really have the man who should be celebrating at this moment. I've got Mr. Vellayan Subbiah, who's joining us right there in our Mumbai studios on this. Thanks very much for being with us. You've got a big go-ahead from the RBI. How big is the opportunity out there, and what sort of a business opportunity do you envisage at this stage?
Yeah, no,
and
thanks a lot
for having me. On now.
Yeah, no, it is extremely exciting. We're tremendously excited about the news. I think this is a huge break, both for the country, right? Because basically what it really indicates is that RBI is taking a very different view to financial inclusion. I think payments banks are the first stage in the financial inclusion process. And the fact that the RBI has given 11 licenses is hugely encouraging. Right, I think it's a huge move because what we can see from this is that the RBI is taking a much more open stance. Right, when we went for the main bank licenses, only 2 were given. But the fact that you're going to have at least 11 payment banks come into play means that we're going to get to see different models. And I think real innovation on models is what this is really about. It gives us the opportunity to, for different players to take different models and different approaches to this business. We've looked at a model that uses our physical distribution capability that will then be combined with something that is fairly digital and innovative in its overall process. And I think most people will have some combination of a digital model plus a physical presence model. But overall, the opportunity for the country in terms of what's going to play out because of the payments bank, I think is significant, and we're extremely excited about it.
The obvious question then is, a model like this will need a lot of technology infrastructure, will be very, very tech intensive. Do players like a Tech Mahindra, for instance, have an advantage in a situation like this? Though, of course, you have far more experience of finances.
Yes, obviously, Tech Mahindra as part of the Mahindra group will also have access or will probably collaborate with Mahindra Financial Services as well. And that is a pretty good combination. But I also think that innovation, can come from small companies, and the way we look at it is that most of the big innovations in the world have actually originated from companies with less than 10 to 12 people. And so our intent is to really take a fairly innovative approach to how we approach the digital end of this. And so it gives us a fairly exciting opportunity from that perspective. But overall, for the country, is what I think this is really good news, because it's going to push payments and kind of all the opportunities around it far more and create a lot more financial inclusion as a result of this move.
Mr. Subbiah, the obvious question, of course, is that the underbanked in this country, much like their banking counterparts, are not a monolithic community, so to say. Yeah. They are very, very diverse, and I think region plays a huge, a very significant role here. Will there be focus areas for, say, a company like yourself?
Well, the good thing is that our distribution is fairly national, right? We have 534 branches, and we have, kind of as many branches now in the north as we do in the south. And so we've got a fairly equal distribution across the north, south, and west, and have been increasing our presence in the east as well. What we have to think of is which models for payments banks will work the most, and we've got a couple of solutions that are going to be focused around microcosms in more geographically dense areas where we're present. So what we have to look at is a combination of that plus a national play. And I think that the focus on particular geographic areas, high density, hyperlocal solutions are also going to be important on the payment side. I know that the RBI has been very keen on developing the Northeast as well, where we have a decent presence. So what we are looking at is something that's going to be a combination of hyperlocal plus things that are geographically more spread out.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking to when I referred to areas. I was actually meaning geographical areas. But I also want to speak to you about areas for financing that excite you. There will be all sorts of people from all sorts of industries who are underbanked who will be looking at payments bank as an option. And that is where the opportunity really lies. Are there any specific verticals that Chola Mandam will perhaps be focusing on?
So I think that, we do have some ideas. What it gives us is some time to think through. Obviously, we've got 18 months to go live. It gives us some time to think through this. And, I think I'd prefer to think through that before we come out and kind of discuss what we're going to do in public.
Fair Fair point indeed. Let me just take this question away from areas of focus onto technology and also onto models. You keep referring to niche models. This is going to be different from a bank. This is not going to be branch focused. How exactly is this really going to work?
Well, see, different people, I think, if you look at who all have got licenses, you take, Vijay and kind of the approach that obviously, from Paytm's perspective, they will be highly digital in their approach, and so they're going to come at it from a wallet perspective. We've looked at different ways of, handling how we're going to handle the funds and what we're going to do in specific. But to your point, everybody, one area that is big that everybody wants to look at from a payments bank perspective is, digitization of processes that are predominantly cash-led, right? And cash-led or cash-intensive processes are things that we're fairly familiar with, right? Obviously, in our vehicle finance business, we have over 800,000 customers that we give vehicle finance loans, vehicle owners, for example, have a fairly cash-intensive process, right? When they're kind of traveling from Mumbai to Delhi, most of their expenditure is done in cash today. So one of the opportunities to look at from a payments bank perspective is how can some of those cash transactions be made digital, and what role could we play that can assist that process. Similarly, SMEs in this country, tend to be a bit more cash intensive in their operations, and more of these processes moving digital are, I think, a huge benefit for the country because it actually increases the velocity of cash. There's been a lot of work that's been done globally that show that as the velocity of cash improves, economies actually get more effective and do a lot better. So, I think overall that creates a good opportunity for us as well.
Fair point indeed, Mr. Subbiah. Do stay with us because it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I also have Mr. Rajiv Arora, the CTO of PayPal, joining us right here on ET Now. Thanks very much, Rajiv, for being with us. You're one of the chosen 11. I was asking Mr. Subbiah this: what kind of an opportunity lies ahead? What are the plans in pipeline? 18 months is what you have to hit the ground running here.
Yes, well, thank you for having us here. So it's indeed a privilege, and we thank the Reserve Bank of India for giving us this license, and we believe that this is an acknowledgement of all the work we've done for the past 9 years that we have. In terms of going forward, we are already working on a lot of components which are permitted activities for payments bank, which includes remittances, be it lending, be it electronic benefit transfer, and we are going to continue to build on those businesses, keeping our focus very sharp and clear on the micro customers.
Do stay with us, Rajiv, because I want to involve this and get this discussion going between Mr. Subbiah and you. Mr. Subbiah, how do you go around acquiring customers here? When it's a bank, you have an infrastructure, people know there's a branch, people approach you for deposits, people approach you for loans. How will a payment bank really work? How will you acquire a potential customer?
Right. So, like we said, the two channels, right? As it is, we have over 8.5 lakh customers just within Chola itself, right? And that gives us an instant base to start with. But as you think about scale, within the group more broadly, Coromandel has a lot of access to farmers, for example, and they are a population that could use services like this, where we could basically, help the farmers go more cashless in their transactions. And that gives us an access to a fairly large customer base as well. So our initial approach is going to be to stay close to kind of the overall microcosms that we have more familiarity with. But once we have models proven out, for example, for truck drivers, it's something that we could take more broadly across the entire truck driver ecosystem, and not limited to just to Chola's truck drivers.
Fair point indeed. Mr. Subbiah, just stay with us because I also have a very special guest, Mr. Vijay Sharma of Paytm, joining us right here. Thanks very much and congratulations from all of us at ET Now for being yet another payments bank in the country. 11 of you are the chosen few. So thank you very much for sparing time. But what sort of an opportunity do you see for yourself? What sort of challenges do you envisage Okay, the line has gotten disconnected with Mr. Sharma. They need to work on their technology before they get going with that bank. So Rajiv Arora, I'm going to come back to you. And we were speaking to Chola Mandalam about acquisition of potential customers. They have an obvious advantage because, they're already an existing bank. They have a lot of access to farmers, like Mr. Subbiah was pointing out. How different is the strategy going to be for, say, a Reliance Industries or for a Dilip Shangvi or for an Airtel for that matter? And of course, for yourself. Is Mr. Rajiv Arora with us?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, Mr. Arora, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So the question that I'm asking is that we were discussing acquisition of potential customers. And Mr. Subbiah of Chola Mandalam was essentially saying how they already have existing customers in their banks. They have access to farmers who will be potential customers. And of course, they will ransack the entire universe to get many more. But how different will acquisition of customers be for players like a Reliance Industry, or Dilip Shangvi, and Airtel, or Vodafone? Do you envisage a situation, including yourselves, where players will be chasing specific verticals going ahead?
See, if you look at Fino as an organization in the last 9 years, we have been only in the space of financial inclusion. So our segment per se has only been mass market segment per se. And we have acquired close to 95 million